Good evening, everyone. Tonight's meeting of the Economic Subcommittee will have two presentations tonight. One by the Canal Lighting Program, which is going on in the city of Lowell, and a presentation from Kronos and Cross Point. Before we begin, I'd like to have the clerk call the roll.
Chairman Samaras.
Present.
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Milanazzo.
Here.
3 present.
Thank you. With that, the first part of the program, we're going to start with the Lowell Waterways Vitality Project. This was a project that was basically started in February of this year. As you know, Lowell has many canals, and for many years it's been discussed, what can we do with these canals? What type of programs could we have in these canals? What type of resource are they? Could they be something that would enhance the quality of life in the city of Lowell? And we believe we do have the answer. September 1st of this year will be the first Thursday night. That's a night when we have activities, art shows, food trucks, music. It's quite a night. But on September 1st, there will also be a demonstration of the Lowell Waterways Vitality Project. That was kicked off in February of this year. Two people who have done yeoman's work as far as volunteering for this program have been Fred Faust and Paul Marion, and they're here tonight to give you a little bit of a highlight, and then they will come before the Subcommittee on Economic Development in October to talk about what this can do for the city. Fred Faust, Mr. Faust? Paul first?
I think, thank you for...
No, you have to be by the mic. Yeah,
I have
just
a microphone right here.
scrub my mic. Have a seat. Relax.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilor Samaras and councilors for inviting us here today. My name is Paul Marion. I'm the president of the Lowell Heritage Partnership. We're an alliance of about 23 community organizations that works closely with the National Park Service in particular. Our motto is caring for architecture, nature, and culture. So we have people who are community leaders on preservation, on cultural conservation, and environmental protection. About a year ago, we kicked off an initiative that is intended to bring greater focus on the waterways assets in the city. We started out calling it Canalway Vitality Project as a way to bring more attention to the unique canal system that really was the source of Lowell's being made a national park in 1978. We haven't had as much attention to the development of some canals as was expected.
Just hit that button right in front of you so you can be heard.
Yeah.
on TV. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. All right. I don't have enough practice on this. If you would direct your attention to the slide, you can see the report cover. It says Report of the Lowell Historic Canal Commission. We wouldn't have a national park in Lowell if we didn't have the canal system. That was what the federal government thought was unique. And that report set the stage for the national park to be established. And we know what's happened in the ensuing years. We had been on a listening tour of, around the community, and what we were hearing is people saying, shouldn't we be doing more with the water assets? And we agreed with that, and we started working with members of the community. And last February, as Councilor Samaras said, we launched the Lowell Waterways Vitality Project. It gained immediate credibility when the Lowell City Council and City Manager devoted $100,000 or more to light the Merrimack Canal along Lucy Larcom Park. Everybody could see what the potential of the project was. We then had a number of community workshops with scores of people attending. We engaged the services of a planner, urban planner, Dan Koff, and he began translating some of the ideas into images. We will release the report, in this very room in early October. We're getting near the end now. Fred's showing a picture there of the Lowell Walks program. This is all part of what my wife calls Reoccupy Lowell history. There's been a tremendous grassroots resurgence of interest in the story of the city. There's a lot of new people in the city. They're curious. Every week, Dick Howe has been convening more than 100 people for these walks. It's just been a great success, and I think it's an indicator of what will come when we begin to extend the development of the canal and riverfront. This is an image of the Central Fire Station. This is where Fuse Restaurant is at Middle and Palmer Streets. This was a test lighting of the tower, and we have a commitment that this tower will be lit permanently. I don't know, when is that, Fred? Is there a timeline for that? This fall, yeah. And one of the things that's happened is as we've moved forward with this waterways vitality effort, George Duncan from Enterprise Bank has really been a catalyst for getting buildings downtown in the historic district lit up. So we have the lighting. Lighting has kind of like two branches now. One is the waterways, and the other is focused on some of the significant architectural gems in the downtown. So this is going to all add up to incredible added value for Lowell, for the people who live here, the people who work here, the students in the city, and the visitors who come too. I'm going to hand this over to Fred for the next phase.
So I'm in the real estate business too, and there's been a lot of discussion about amenity-rich properties, and we know that's one of the keys for Kronos making a decision to locate over at Cross Point. And I was at a forum in Chelmsford where they were wondering about why they lost Kronos, and the discussion came up, and John Power, a broker who's been very active in Lowell, and you probably know John, was talking about amenities and Generation Xers and millennials, and he said, here's some more bad news for you. You not only have to compete with the amenity-rich locations, you've got to compete with Lowell, Massachusetts, which is amenity-rich. So this is really the effort to draw in, and we've been very successful, younger people, entrepreneurs, use the diverse population we have here, use the university and the college, use the whole educational system to really, as Paul said, sort of re-energize and retrench downtown Lowell. And for those of us who have been involved for a long time, dating back to the National Park and before that, we can really see the waves of progress that are being made and setting this up for additional economic success. So in addition to the programs that we have presently, as mentioned, George Duncan from Enterprise Bank has started to basically knock on doors, and we have now, this is, as I said, this is a week-old slide, so there's 3 or 4 more locations that George has initiated. But in addition to the Firehouse Tower, we've now got about 12 sites which may light up. We're much like the Cross Point building. We're taking advantage of the technology of the LEDs, and we have designers within the city of Lowell that have worked with these technologies. And so we're going to really have state-of-the-art opportunities to light these buildings, light the sites architecturally, and in a very exciting way. So the next initiative is really a plan to take advantage of the canals and the waterways. And we have 5.4 very unique miles, 5.6 very unique miles of canals here. So this is the Lowell Waterways Vitality Project, which is complemented by the fact that we have an urban national cultural park, which is also unique. And what we've done is identify 4 different canal sites for both active and passive uses, and the possibility of lighting very dramatically 2 of the bridges that cross the Merrimack, and importantly, connect the neighborhoods. So these are some of the sites that we're dealing with. And again, for those of us who have been to locales like San Antonio and Oklahoma City and places where they've really used water power, we have every opportunity to do the same thing here. This is the Hamilton Gateway, which is also home to $500 million in potential future development. These are preliminary sketches, so the next time you see this sketch, it will have a bunch of colorful lights in it, but this is just the first rendition that the artist has done, because one of the things we want to do is extend the economic day in Lowell. We don't want places to close at 5 or 6. We want them to go and be thriving until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And a bridge project, the city is actually between the canal project that Paul referred to earlier, the Merrimack Canal, a grant which the city has now acquired, and a private donation of $500,000. We're already within a year at $1 million with a goal of $3 million over the next 5 years. And the examples, many of which you're probably familiar with, where we can show how dramatic the impact will be. This is the Northern Avenue Bridge in Boston, which was a temporary project. This is a project in Kansas City, which we think is very similar to the lower locks features that we have here. Most people are familiar with Providence and Waterfire, and they've attracted, they claim, 10 million visitors over the last 20 years. And this is the Amsterdam Light Festival, which interestingly is held in the winter months to get people out during non-summer months. And this is a lighting projection in a couple of the canal locations and the canal boats that go through the city. This is Lyon, France, which attracts about 500,000 people to a week-long festival. We have a plan for the Ecumenical Plaza where there's 2 spectacular churches in a plaza across from each other, and we're going to try and do a festival there, light it up, and also have active landscaping programs that will be community-based. So we're going to start to demonstrate these things on September 1st. We're going to get you an invitation. That evening when it gets dark, about 7:52 according to Google, we're going to light up the canal structure, the canal area. The National Park Service will be running canal boats and trolleys through this area. The university is participating with a reception and a series of events. And we're going to really just try and get people excited about what can happen here. And again, increasing activities, increasing days, increasing the cultural and tourism opportunities, and most definitely the economic opportunities to make Lowell, an even better and more livable city. And the other thing we want to do here, and Allison Lemay is here from the city. Allison is one of our chairs. We have drafted our public matters graduates. They are younger people we've tried to retain in the city, so all of our committees are chaired by younger people, not this young, but younger people. And we see this as a legacy project that is something that can be successful for the next 5, 10 years and create opportunities for future generations. So this is the schedule, and as Paul says, it will result in a plan that will be presented here sometime in October. With that comment, we'll go out with a publication at the beginning of the year, and then we'll be ready to kick off some additional events for 2017. So thank you for your patience and time, and we look forward to working with you, and we certainly welcome all the endeavors you're involved with to the city.
I want to thank you for that presentation. It should be noted that when the February 1st meeting was held, every member of the city council was present, and it shows support of this. But we'll look forward to the October meeting when we can question you on the results. But with that, I'd like to have Allison Lemay from the Planning Department, and also we have Diane Trad, the head of the Planning Department, do our introduction to our guests.
Good evening. Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you. Well, we are, I guess, more than thrilled at the commitment and the investment that the folks have made over Cross Point Towers, and most recently by the commitment of Kronos to come to the city of Lowell and put their headquarters here in Lowell at Cross Point. So At the request of the council, we have representatives here from both entities to speak and talk about the progress they're making and what they're doing at those sites. Andrew Marr is here from Anchorline Properties. They are the owner of Cross Point Towers. And then Chris Todd, the Senior VP of Operations and Chief Services Officer at Kronos, and his colleague Jonathan Profit, the Senior Director of Global Real Estate and Facilities, are both here as well to speak about Kronos and the investment that they're making in the city of Lowell.
Thank you, Allison. On behalf of the City Council, I want to welcome you to Lowell. And I think it was interesting to have a type of introduction in the sense of what we're trying to do. As city councilors, we don't negotiate, but I think as city councilors, what we try to do for you is create the right type of atmosphere in this city. That's, I think, is our job. City manager will negotiate with you. But one of the questions I will have for both of you, for myself, others will speak for themselves, is in a sense, when you talk about what you have done at Cross Point or what Kronos is doing, how can we help in making Lowell an even better place for you to be part of? You know, how can you help us change the dynamics where literally Lowell will be, you know, on the lips of everyone nationally because of the vitality that this city has? Thank you. So, Allison, who's going to go first? You want to?
Shall I start? Yeah.
Oh, Andrew, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Maher from Anchorline Partners. Thank you for the invitation to speak here today. We're thrilled to tell this story. We've owned this building to give you a sense of the background.
Is the PA system on? Is the green light there? No green light on that one. Oh, there's no green light on that? Okay. It's on. Thank you.
I'll stand a little closer. How's that sound?
Just want to make sure.
So we're thrilled to take this opportunity to present to you the story of Cross Point to date. A little of the background on this story. It starts in June 30th of 2014, so a little more than 2 years ago when we acquired the asset. We paid $100 million for it. We bought it from the previous owner that had owned the building for 16 years, and at that point, it was the greatest real estate story of all time. The conversion of this building from being sold for $525,000 to then being sold, I think, for $118 million. So we're the second owner since that renovation. So that ownership period of time, that owner who was an active member of the Lowell community, and the building saw its ups and downs, but was an incredibly profitable investment for them. At the time that we bought it, they made the decision to sell simply because of the fact they saw the writing on the wall as it came for future capital that needed to be invested in the building. And they elected to put it out to the market and allow someone else to make that investment and essentially to cash out at that point. So we were thrilled to step in June of 14. We came up with two key sort of packages that we focused on. The first we'll take you through is the brand. The building's brand, I think, was really set in place in the early 90s and hadn't changed since. And then the second was the capital infrastructure in the asset in a way that made it a 21st century building, not what was originally probably designed in the early 90s to mid 90s. So to start, let's take you through the brand. It was the first thing we did, and it was sort of the lowest hanging fruit. So our curb appeal, this is really where the brand starts. If you can see in the photo on the left here, that is the monument sign that was originally designed for this building and put in place. It had Cross Point and then Showcase Cinemas on the right, with the help of quite a few people in this room and in this building. We permitted new branding signs that locate on the Chelmsford Industrial Ave side of the building. It not only highlights the building and its location, but also the tenants in it, which from a third-party perspective, the tenants love to have their brand out on the street corner. So this allowed us to bring really all of our tenants to the corner and celebrate them along with the building as well. On the property itself, we developed a number of wayfinding signs. You can see the photo on the left here is the north side of the building, because frequently a building of this size, it's just under 1.3 million square feet. It's sometimes difficult to find, hey, if I meet at the front door, where the front door is, because there's 3 towers and separate entrances, and so we spent some time and money locating these signs, so you could say, I'll meet you at the north entrance, or I'll meet you at the main entrance, or the south entrance. We relocated or rebranded the top of the building. You can see the old Crosspoint logo. There was actually remnants on the concrete of the Wang logo. We had that acid washed off as well. We referred to getting the Wang off the building, which was always a funny joke when we talked to our partners. But anyways, the rebranding of the logo, that center point is really, it's a sort of homage to a lot of the wayfinding marks you would find in your apps, whether it's Waze or Google Maps or other things like that for your locational point. So we thought that would be a great sort of centerpiece to rebrand the building. And then you can see in the bottom photo all of the branding that we brought around the parking. It was a really difficult parking lot to, if you weren't parking there every day, or if you'd forgot where you parked, to remember, geez, I'm in section B3. So we spent some time and money on that. And then this is really the experience at the front door of the building today. The photo on the left, there was 2 egress hallways that went to that. You'll see in a moment how we repositioned the inside, but bringing in sort of the new glass curtain wall, new entry doors, branding, all new curb appeal in front of the place. So a very different and approachable building at this point. The parking garage was always a structure that probably was a little bit of an eyesore as people drove up the street for relatively short investment on our side. We put in a scrim to run the whole building, to not only to bring our brand in, but to pretty up an asset that was otherwise just a parking garage, not overly attractive to look at. There was a storm earlier this year that got a little windy there and ripped the sign, but we had budgeted to do that on an annual basis anyways. I think it just jumped the gun a little bit. But anyways, it really changed the front door and the front vibe of the building and really all the areas around it. And then my favorite, the before photo of our vans, I refer to that as a van that would take you to like a dialysis or something like that. Not something you really would be excited about getting in. We spent some time and effort designing up the brand and the logo to go on those vans and make them visible as they came in and around the parking lot and delivered people to and from the locations on the property. So that's sort of the immediate branding change we made to the asset. That took place over the first, I would say, 90 days of ownership. During that period, we spent a lot of time designing for the campus, and we refer to it as a campus for a couple different reasons. One, we want what you would find in a campus quad in any college, whether it's UMass Lowell or pick any school around here, where they want the informal contact and communication between the people on the campus. So we spent the bulk of our time trying to figure out how we made the people that worked in this building want to be here longer and want to communicate with each other, whether it's upstairs in the office or downstairs in the communal space of the building. So we focused on a couple different areas. Before I get into those specifically, but this was the before. The slide you see now is the before common area slide. In the dark gray, you can see how there was, I refer to it as cow paths through the building. It reminds you a little bit of downtown Boston, where there's no 2 streets that are straight and they're not really set up. And the next slide you'll see, we go to and this is now the light gray is now the common area. We go more to a north-south, east-west pattern throughout the building. I sometimes refer to it as New York City, but I think I should go to Chicago because no one really liked that New York City analysis when I throw that out. But by creating these north, south, east, west, it creates a visual connection point between each of the assets that we have on our first floor. And then this chart in particular shows us where we made our investments. So the flex you'll see in the blue, which is in the center, that is a combination of a gym and gaming area. The gym has, for example, some pretty interesting stuff in it. We have the bikes, the spin bikes, or for example, Peloton bikes allow you to go live online into a spin class or watch some of the previous spin classes and participate in those. The gaming area in front, the ping pong, there's shuffleboard, there's bubble hockey, there's 3 Xboxes, there's bumper pool, a whole host of games, and it's intended to be a spot where you might go down and work out at lunchtime and get a sweat in. You also might go down and just blow some steam off and play ping pong with someone as maybe you've hit a stumbling block with something you're working on upstairs. And we find that they're getting actually quite a lot of use. We've gone through a couple sets of golf clubs in the golf simulator that we have in it. So the next sort of key components in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see fuel, which is approximately 20,000-foot calf, and then Tavern in the Square. Tavern in the Square is, with its outside patio, is about 12,000 square feet. So those two areas are really our food service providing. The fuel is designed to be various rooms within a room. There's a sports pub type area where we have a Pop-A-Shot basketball machine. There's some banquet seatings where it feels much more like you're sitting in a restaurant than in a caf. There's a communal table that allows you to seat up to 30 people at it. So a lot of different variety, even though it's in one space. We brought in a new operator there as well, Sebastian's, to run that for us, which has been a tremendous upgrade. The tenants have really enjoyed their product. Tavern in the Square, I would say, if you haven't been there, you might be the only ones in Lowell that haven't, because the crowds they're getting are far exceeding what they anticipated. And at this point, without Kronos in the building, we're actually seeing a fair amount of your employees there as well, too. So
Do something about the crowds? I mean, it's
no,
hard to get there.
It's been great. It's been really great to deliver that product and to see the reaction it's got from both the community as well as the tenants in the building. The two other areas you'll see here that really are amenity-centric, Little Sprouts in the lower left, that is a 225 children daycare facility. Little Sprouts is, I believe there's 16 to 17 locations sort of regionally here. A great operator, tremendous provider of services also to a lot of Lowell residents. We tend to find that the tenants of these buildings have a need for it, but it's really the neighborhood who has a stronger need. But the idea of delivering those services to both those clients has been well received, and Little Sprouts has done a nice job. The other amenity we have is the lawn. It doesn't show because there's a second level to this, but we have a 500-seat theater on the first floor, and above that we have a 200-seat conference room, and then 3 additional conference rooms that circle that. So really delivering a service to this building, but previous ownership had actually run that lawn in a capacity where it really was only for the tenants of the building. One of the first things we did was change that. Middlesex Community College has run some events. We're actually having our first speaker series. We're bringing out the Lowell, UMass Lowell hockey coach. He's coming out, I think it's October 1st, to give a little pep talk right before the season starts on what he sees. And we look for more, and we offer it available to the city as well, more events that take place in that. So in particularly larger events, I mean, the 500-person one, and we think it'll also be good, particularly if they're evening events, might add to a little revenue at Tavern in the Square after as well. So, and then most importantly, Kronos is on the first floor. We're about to start construction on 2 floors of storefront glass that will wrap the base of Tower 1. I'll let Chris and the guys from Kronos talk a little bit, John talk a little bit further about what they're doing within their space, but those 2 stories of glass will wrap that entire base of Tower 1, which will bring really total transparency into that space and really change, particularly the industrial Ave side of the building, or I should be saying the Kronos Ave side of the building, and creating a state-of-the-art. So that was our macro plan, was to straighten out this common area with this great amenity package that allowed someone from their workout maybe before work to their meeting, to a lunch or a lunch meeting with a client, to taking care of their children if they had some that were in need of daycare, all on that first floor, and create this campus feel within that space and allow the 2,000, soon to be 4,000 people drop down through their elevators directly into it. Our competition that I know Kronos and others looked at, the spaces that are of that size tend to be more spread out, more suburban sprawl, 1, 2, 3-story buildings instead of these large towers that we had. So that was what we felt was our competitive advantage. I'll flip you through a couple of photos here. The upper left is the main entrance hallway that ran end to end of the building. The 3 shots around to the right are all of the new hallways, as well as the new travel pass Bottom right one, you can't quite see it, but we actually blew some of the ceiling out and made it 2 stories in volume. The people who have been there, they've seen some interesting things and some interesting lighting programs that we put on it too. So the upper left was our cafeteria, and upper right, really, frankly, really depressing when we bought it. Tiny little windows, 15 to 20-year-old furniture. Product that even if it was good food, you would have had a hard time thinking it was good just because of the situation setting you're in. It was really like eating in a bunker. The lower left probably is the best visual of the glass that we brought in to wrap that space to bring floor-to-ceiling glass, natural light into it. And you can see the sports club part. We paid homage to most of the local athletes. That's Mickey Ward. He actually at our open house was there and did us the honor of signing it as well. So it's been a great experience and really well received. Some more photos. This is the sort of the main entrance to the dining area on the upper left, the before photo. After, this is Cafe Kerouac. This is what runs on all off hours of the building as well. So whether it's 10 or 11 in the morning to go down and get a coffee, or 4 or 5 at night that you might want to get a snack if you're working a little later, that runs sort of within the CAF. You can see we paid homage to a lot of the local people, whether it was Jack Kerouac or Mickey Ward or others. There's a Tom Brady one in there. There's definitely no Roger Goodell. So anyways, this is a photo of the lawn. I'll blow through these relatively quick. The 500-seat theater. On the upper left is our former gym. Really, again, depressing, no windows. You can see we've got some great graphics in. It's much bigger than the previous gym. The gaming that you see down on the lower right as well in the space. And then the tavern, hopefully you've seen the inside of this. These are some photos just before it opened, but this was space, frankly, that 6,000 feet of the space of the 9,000 that was interior was vacant for over 15 years. It was effectively unleasable space because of the window and the concrete that surrounded it. By tearing that off, by doing a deal with the guys from Tavern, it's really opened it up and brought new life into the space. So that probably was the biggest game changer that brought it all together, because without that third experience of morning, afternoon, and then nighttime, we didn't have that 24/7 type campus. So we're thrilled with Joey Kari and his team to put that deal together. So the results, why did we do all of this? We bought the building which with a known occupancy of about 53%. We had over 600,000 feet vacant. There was 19 empty floors out of the 40 at the building. So it was a daunting task that we started with. With the good fortune in making that investment, to date we've got the building to 91%. There are currently 3 floors remaining to lease, 113,000 square feet of space. So a tremendous amount of leasing took place, obviously highlighted by the Kronos deal. But a couple of the highlights, and this was will be my second from last slide, but we spent $10 million on spec in that amenity package that you saw on that first floor. The lobbies, the daycare, the restaurant, the cafeteria. Once we had completed that, we've leased over 794,000 square feet of space. And we've spent investing in both the tenants of the building and all of their tenant fit out approximately $65 million into the space. So we feel that Crosspoint is in a great position to enter the 21st century as a state-of-the-art building. The infrastructure is tremendous. Now the interior and the rent roll is tremendous. So it took a lot of time and effort to put that together, but I'd like to say thanks to a few of the people that, and the first is the tenants of the building. Without them, we obviously wouldn't be anywhere. We'd be 19 floors empty still. So thank you to Kronos and your whole team for making the decision to come here, and we look forward to working close with you guys on your build out and getting it done on time. And aggressive in all aspects of it to achieve your business goals that you've set forth for us. And Verizon, who's our second largest tenant of the building, Vantif, which is the former Lytle, they recently committed to just under a 7-year term for about 63,000 square feet. Jobber is a company that moved their headquarters from New Hampshire to our building. That was our first deal actually in the building. Eris recently re-upped for a 10-year term. On 143,000 feet. That's the former Motorola that was bought by Google and then now has been sold to Eris. Some of the other tenants that we've done deals with, the IRS, we've just extended for a 10-year term on a floor. Intertech is a company that moved into the building about a year ago and has already expanded. Corday Associates is a law firm that actually moved over from the building next door to Kronos in Chelmsford. So Captivate is another company that moved into the building. Little Sprouts and Tavern we touched on. So that's where we would like to start with our thanks. And then after that, there's a whole host of people. So I wanted to write them down. I don't think I could list them off. I'll probably still miss some, but our capital partners, Farrell on Capital, as well as all the Anchor Line team on site, particularly Deanna Murphy, who oversees the building and runs it. Her team, we have 23 employees of engineers, security, and various people that work for us on site. Our lenders, we started with Santander. They syndicated a portion of our loan with Berkshire, M&T, and Middlesex Bank. We now actually just refinanced with Starwood, so we can pay for all of the build out. But both those key lenders came to the plate and believed in the story and believed in Lowell. So there's a number of brokerage firms: Cushman & Wakefield, CBRE, JLL, Newmark, Colliers. We transacted with all of those companies to be able to tell this story. We've had 5 actually general contractors that we've worked with: Chapman, J. Callan, Voights Butler, ExecuSpace, and Ryan. And then sort of some of the subs, and these are some names that you might recognize. Paul Macular from Emerald Green is our cleaner. The One Call, the Durkin Companies, Dan Durkin does quite a bit of our landscaping and other things on site. General Woodworking, Gary Marchese, another Lowell manufacturing woodworker. NEC Electric, Bill Lamont. The Valley Collaborative, Darren Gould, they come out and bring their people out to do some of our cleanup, daytime cleanup. And then obviously in this building and within the city, Kevin Murphy has been a tremendous, I would say, a tremendous leader of the effort of this group. Diane Trad, Allison, let's see, Maria Dickerson, Aaron Findelin. I'm going to mess up a few of these names, so I apologize in advance. Joe, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. It's Genowick, is that right? Genowick, okay, great. Judy Timo, and then the City Council would like to thank you as well. Without your help, we wouldn't have a liquor license for Tavern in the Square. I can't tell you how important that meeting was to push that through and approve that. The building department, Sean Shanahan and Chris McWhite and all of their inspectors that come and work closely with our team. We've got the fire department, Chief Jeffrey Windward and Deputy Phil Sharon are both work closely with us. The fire department actually does regular drills within the building, practicing if there ever was an event in the building. So, and from the police, Superintendent William Taylor and all of the officers who support our daily traffic management, that takes place really 5 days a week there on Chelmsford, the Chelmsford side of the street. Gunther Weinstein, who actually came to us with a great idea of putting colors on the building on Sunday nights. It's tying to which waste side of the street, I think is, the blue and the green. We embraced that relatively quick. That got up there in a hurry. Our Concom that we had a little issue with in the beginning, but seemed to turn them, and I think our riverfront maintenance program is something that they're using as a model for other locations for our riverfront. One of our first meetings, we're now getting sort of outside the building, but one of our first meetings I took here after buying the building was with Representative Nagel, and from the state perspective, how he could assist in any way, shape, or form with the turnaround. And he was actually quite helpful, introducing me to a lot of people that I've listed off previously. And then once we had some success, I think we start to get to see a lot more state people with Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary Ash. Tom Golden came by. Tom has become close with us and is working closely with us, and particularly on our asset we're going to be buying in Chelmsford that he works on. Eileen McDonough, Randy Mom, and Mary Burns, who helped assist with a lot of things. So I know I've missed someone, so I'll apologize in advance if I've missed you. But that's the end of our presentation and our story. So
I want to thank you. That was a great presentation. For time, we'll go into the Kronos program. But I have to say, when you showed the building and you have the Mickey Ward area, the Jack Kerouac area, you've shown the character of Lowell. We want to do that in our city, and you've done it in your building, so you're to be commended for that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to announce also that Councilor Belanger is here, Councilor Leahy, Councilor Mercier, and Mr. Cook from the Lowell plant is here. Thank you, Andrew. Chris?
So we do not have a formal
No.
presentation, so can we stay
You
here?
can just
stand
stay
up?
right there.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Chris Todd, and I'm from Kronos, and just by way of introduction to reorient the people in the room, so Kronos is a software and services company. You know, we were founded in 1977, so we've been in Massachusetts for almost 40 years. It's been a tremendous run for the company. We've been sort of very successful and sort of, you know, very lucky in the relationships that we've had in our time here, and we're excited to continue those. So just by way of background, we do workforce management software, which fundamentally allows companies to hire, manage, engage, and retain their workforce. And we believe that our software provides solutions that enables companies to manage their employees more effectively, which is going to make them more engaged, which is going to improve the underlying results for that organization, whatever their particular goals are. We have about 5,000 employees globally. 1,400 of them, 1,402, we counted this morning for this meeting, will be moving to Lowell. We have about 30,000 clients, 35 million different people touch a Kronos system every day. And we currently have implementations in over 110 countries throughout the world. So we're very fortunate, and we think Lowell is fortunate to be housing what is sort of a truly global technology provider in the Crosspoint Towers, and we're excited about that. And so, as you might imagine, with that growth, you know, we've been in we've sort of moved, you know, particularly in the early years in various cities throughout Massachusetts. We've been in Chelmsford since 2000. We currently occupy 3 buildings in Chelmsford, and about 2 years ago, we realized we were out of space and quickly becoming out of space. And so I think now our occupancy is in the mid-90s in the 3 buildings that we occupy in Chelmsford, which, you know, for people in the real estate space means you're basically out of space, right? You can't, technically we have seats, but we can't get the right people in the right places. And so we began to look at our options, and we had an option in Chelmsford. We could have taken a 4th building, and as we looked at our growth projections, we thought that John and his team would be back in about 3 years asking for a 5th building. And so we sort of looked at the profile of what that would mean for Kronos down the road. We decided to take a step back and really see what our options are. And so John and his team and the outside parties that we've historically worked with did an excellent job of canvassing the greater Boston area to see what the alternatives were for us, right? We currently have over 300,000 square feet, and we were looking in the 350,000 to 450,000 square foot, you know, sort of region. We knew at the time, we knew for employee reasons there was no chance we were going all the way into downtown Boston, given our current location. But we looked at the areas where we thought might be reasonable for commutes for our existing employee base, and found a number of potentially attractive properties for us. We looked at everything from existing properties to build to suit. Quickly decided that build to suit wasn't for us, wasn't a project that we were interested in undertaking, and similarly might not work within our time frame, right? We're jammed and we're out of space and needed to make a decision sort of somewhat quickly. I think, to be completely transparent, when we started the process, we didn't know that we had an option in Lowell. And when we realized that this option existed, it quickly became sort of very interesting and very exciting for us. And so one of the, obviously one of the questions we've been asked to address tonight is sort of why did we choose Crosspoint? And I think at the most basic level, Crosspoint got into the initial screen because the inventory was available, right? If the inventory hadn't been available, we would have looked in another direction for all the obvious reasons. And so I think that was fortunate for all the parties involved. And given once we began to sort of wrap our heads around the idea of leaving our 3-building campus and moving to 1 building, we got very excited by the benefits from that, right? And those benefits are soft, but they're important, particularly in a firm like Kronos, where our most important assets are intellectual capital. And so we're, at the most basic level, we're very enthusiastic about the idea and remain enthusiastic about the idea of all of us working in one building and the interactions that that will allow and the relationships that will allow us to develop between the different organizations that aren't quite as seamless as they could be, given we're in 3 different buildings and have to cross a busy street and things like that. All that said, having the available inventory was just the baseline to begin the conversation, right? And so we became excited about Crosspoint specifically for a lot of the reasons that Andrew just articulated, right? We had the impression, as many people did who've been around for a while, that that's the old Wang building. And, you talked about having to get the Wang off. We had to get the Wang off, right? I mean, a lot of our employees sort of drive by that every day and have been in the technology space for a long time, and they know that. They know the building, and it had a historical reputation that had to be overcome. And from our very first business, from our very first visit, the Crosspoint team did an excellent job sort of marketing what they had in a building and the investments that they'd made, and were very gracious with us. I don't know how many tours you did with 18 tours with all of us, different subsets of us, a private tour for the chairman and founder, and any version of a tour that we wanted to show off the amenities that they had was welcomed by them and was a key part of sort of selling the asset. And so it's important that we have that sort of relationship with our landlord, and we sort of established that from the beginning, and it was important. So that, there's initial inventory, then there's what Crosspoint brings, and then there's the bigger question of Lowell, which, to be fair, we have employees who live in Lowell, and they were enormous advocates of Lowell from the beginning. Our general counsel lives here in Lowell. And our Lowell employees have been espousing the virtues of Lowell for years, and this gave me and gave John and gave the rest of the Kronos organization a real opportunity to explore Lowell as a city and as an institution and as an environment for us to house ourselves for at least the next 12 years, for which we've signed a lease. And we were sort of thrilled by what we saw, and we've been thrilled by how we've been treated. And I think there are the sort of investments that Lowell has made in the city, in the infrastructure. We can see those. At the closing dinner we had, it wasn't lost on me and it wasn't lost on others that was a vibrant downtown community. And we shut down a restaurant for the night, but right across the street there were people dining outside and families eating pizza. And it felt like a very, it was a great summer night. It felt like a very welcoming environment. And a lot of investments have been made in Lowell, which are attractive to us and are attractive to our employees, and that's exciting. More importantly, though, I think as we look down the road, right? This, as I said, this is a 12-year lease, so we're going to be here for at least 12 years. Is the entrepreneurial spirit that we see in Lowell and the investments that are being continued to make in this city. So, for instance, the presentation that we just sat through about the canal lighting proposals, I think that's neat, right? It might prove to be a wonderful idea. It might prove to just be an okay idea. I personally think it's a wonderful idea, but it's clever, and it's something new, and it's worth trying. And that's how software companies and technology companies get great and stay great, and we think that's an important part of our culture, and it's exciting to see that matched in a city. And so we want to have these sorts of relationships. We want to continue to work with people who have clever ideas, whether it's sort of lighting or things that they can do in the Kronos building, or what can we do in this giant parking lot that we all share, or what can we do? What can we do with the with the university, and sort of get a cohesive ecosystem there, right? So one of the things that we love, one of the sort of favorite days of the year is the company picnic, which we're able to do in Chelmsford because we own the parking lot, and so we tell people to park elsewhere, and we have the company picnic, and our employees are very anxious about the company picnic and what's going to happen with the company picnic. And because we don't own the parking lot now, and we, as much as we would like to, Andrew probably won't let us get rid of the other tenants for the day, and shut down the parking lot. But maybe there's a way we can sort of cordon off the parking lot. But sort of more excitingly, I think, for the relationships, somehow this came up in conversations with people at UMass Lowell, and they said, listen, you do it in the summer, we have space in the summer, somehow we'll get buses, you'll have the company picnic there. And those are the sort of ad hoc relationships that are important to us that we want to have, where you're sort of talking and involved in the community, and solutions just present themselves. And so we're really excited. We're excited about the community that we're joining. We're excited about the space that we're going to be inhabiting, and we're excited about what we're going to be able to do for our employees. Because if you think about the mission of us as a technology company, right, enabling you to hire and engage and motivate your employees, that's an important part of who Kronos is, right? We win and continue to win Best Places to Work awards in Massachusetts and frankly throughout the world, and that's an important part of our brand, and that's an important part of who we are, right? We see that when we win these awards, that our leading job referral click-throughs come from articles about the awards that we win as a best place to work, right? And we need an engaged and motivated workforce to win those awards and to continue to be an attractive employer. And we think we've been able to do that to date with a campus that's probably been suboptimal, and we think we've got the opportunity really to improve that level of engagement by the new community that we're enjoying and by the space that we're entering. So at the highest level, that's sort of why we made the decisions that we did, and how we've come to be here today. Since we've last been here, just in terms of some of the nuts and bolts, since we've last been here, the construction project has commenced, right? We're in the demo phase where a lot of things are getting ripped down and nothing's quite been put up yet, but we're on schedule. We're making the investments in the project that we advertised that we were going to make, and continue to be sort of enthusiastic about where this is going to go. I think, at a certain point, I'm sure we'll have when the building's open, we'll have a cocktail party or a welcoming reception, and would love to invite all of you there, and I'm sure we will, and you can see the space. And I think what you'll see is that we are building out state-of-the-art space for technology company. It's open, it's collaborative. We're doing a lot of good work with the building owners to maximize the light in the building, and we're making all of the obvious design decisions that companies make today. All the offices are on the interior to maximize the light in the building. We're making open design choices to encourage the collaboration. It'll be colorful, it will be lively. I think you'll be, I think the investment that we're making in sort of making the first 2 stories sort of entirely glass enclosed will have a very large effect. It's going to be a very impressive atrium when you walk in the building, and one of the investments that we have made is that the second floor, this is the first floor above the ground floor, is going to be an entire amenities floor with different zones, so no offices, but a coffee bar and some games and quiet rooms and collaboration rooms, all with different themes. And so we're continuing to invest a lot in sort of building that collaborative workspace for for our employees today and for our employees over the next decade or so.
Could the council use some of those rooms?
Absolutely, we're happy to have you. And one of the problems we have as a large company is how do you have large meetings? We don't have a space on our campus today where we can get all the employees together, and it's tremendously expensive to build that space, right? We don't want to take on the rental expense of sort of building a 500-person amphitheater to use it 3 or 4 times a year. And so some of the amenities that CrossPoint put in, just in terms of the meeting space, are important, and we will use them. And because we're out of space, I know we'll be using them before we move in as a place to have the offices. We see I think a final point, and then I'll take questions. We see the businesses in the CrossPoint Tower already investing in the Kronos relationship. As Andrew said, sort of half jokingly, but it's serious. Kronos employees are using the sort of Tavern and Square restaurant sort of aggressively, and will continue to use so. I mean, I think if you think it's crowded now, wait till we move 1,400 employees in, and all of a sudden they have something they've never had, which is a place to go after work, which is a place to grab a beer, which is a place to say, let's take a client to lunch. Those are all important parts of sort of building relationships that haven't been available to us, and to sort of steal the phrase from the previous presentation, are sort of part of an amenity-rich environment, which is attractive, right? It is not lost to us that there is a restaurant in the lobby, and there are 2 more restaurants in the parking lot, and others within sort of a very, very short drive that are going to make it an attractive place to work. And as I was starting to say, the businesses in the building are already excited about sort of meeting Cronites, as we call ourselves. And so today in our cafeteria at 297 Bill Ricker Road, the credit union was there, sort of introducing themselves to Kronos employees, and Little Sprouts was there, to sort of introduce their services and begin to meet the employees who might have an interest in using those services. And so I think it's, for all those reasons, it's exciting for us, and to the extent this is possible, even more exciting than when we were here 8 or 9 weeks ago, first talking about the project.
Chris, thank you. We have the Lowell Sun here taking down notes as to what you've presented, but our constituents, I'm surprised myself how many people do watch these meetings. And what you've done is you've provided a lot of information that they require to have, because it's one thing to hear about Cross Point, but what's in it?
Right.
It's one thing to hear about Kronos, how successful, but what do you really do? So your explanations were great. But do my subcommittee members have any questions? Councilman Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. And let me just begin by thanking you for being here and giving us this update, not only on Cross Point, but on Kronos. But I just want to just go back 30 years. I see Jimmy Cook in the audience, who's the director of the Lowell Development Financial Corporation, and that corporation had a second mortgage on the Wang building in the amount of $2.5 million, and as Andrew indicated, it sold at auction for $525,000. What happened was, right before the auction, Dr. Wang and his team, because they were so community oriented, in my opinion, agreed to give the Lowell Development Financial Corporation $2.5 million in Wang stock. And we were able to work with the president of one of our member banks, and he was able to sell that stock over the year so that we got our principal back. And what we're able to do is put that money back to work in the community. So as the building stands there, it actually helped house first-time home buyers. It helped start up companies. It really is quite a history, because there was an Urban Development Action Grant that we were able to recycle in the community. And we would have gotten, as you well know, we would have gotten wiped out at the foreclosure sale, but it was because of the good work of the LDFC and the banking community and Dr. Wang and the city manager at the time, we were able to release our mortgage in exchange for stock. So again, we were able to put that money back, and so as we drive by the building, you think about the first-time home buyers, and you think about the startup companies that, and again, Kronos started in Lowell years ago. I mentioned that 8 weeks ago, and you just think about, the repayment of those loans, and we haven't had an issue since that happened. So when you hear Andrew's story and Kronos' story, it's really remarkable, something that we all as a community should be proud of and we should embrace. And I'm just thrilled that the story of the building of the property continues and continues to improve, and obviously under your leadership will continue to improve going forward. So again, it's just a thank you, but also a little history. Those of us that have been around for 30 years really know what that property has meant to us as a community. So thank you.
I think what you've stated, we are a group that's committed to growth, but you've shown us the way, really. Andrew, by what you're doing, at the towers, we want to do in the city, and that can be used as a model for what the city can do. That's the way I feel about it. But when you talk about Kronos, the health of the organization, the spirit of the organization, we want to have that as part of the city. And I think you can help us, and we can help you. We can learn from you, and that's what we want to do. The mayor's also here. Councilor Elliott's also here. Do any of the councilors have a question? Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just say that Lowell is very, very rich, not in money, but in ethnic diversity. It's very rich in partnerships. You are a fine example of a great partnership that has entered the city of Lowell. We're very, very proud. I'm very happy with the lighting on Cross Point. I think that is spectacular. You can see that from all over the place. It's like saying, come on down. But secondly, Tavern on the Square. I belong to a dinner group, and that was the very first night that it opened. We were there. I was so excited. I said to the waitress, I'm so excited to be here. I've never been here before. She said, of course not. We just opened an hour ago. So I want to thank you so much for all that. Even though your employees, your owners, your businesses that take part in all the amenities at Cross Point, so do we. I don't have a tie there, but I do with the tavern in the square, so thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott, you had a question?
Yeah, briefly, I'm sorry I was not here earlier for the entire presentation, but first, to Mr. Marr, your investment is significant in this building, and is the layout and the amenities that you have put into the building, i.e. the lawn and little sprouts, and that's where your primary investment went, presumably, and is that characteristic of large-scale buildings, which is sort of what Chris referenced, creating a campus atmosphere, and that's almost a necessity to large buildings to attract prospective tenants. I mean, I think the changes are remarkable, and or the transformation, I should say, to sort of certainly the state of the art makeover of that building with a creative cafe, i.e. Jack Kerouac, and then the mural Mickey Ward. I think those are the things that perhaps that's what Chris was referencing, and sort of what I'm trying to take into the future and in other developments in the city. And I thought it was quite interesting, the attraction not only to the building by Kronos, but also the relationship and the attractions that the city has. I mean, it's a little bit of a distance out of the downtown, but your employees are enthusiastic on the ability to leave work and then come downtown for all that the downtown has to offer. Same with your other tenants?
Very much so, yeah. There's quite a few actually tenants that actually use the commuter rail and give transportation to and from that. But again, to your point about the amenities and the sort of the campus setting, we view that as what the 21st century tenants want. They're requiring their people to be there longer and more communication between them. The work spaces themselves are getting smaller, as well as the housing that's being built. So the spot where you spend the bulk of your awake hours is typically your work. So to have those amenities from the beginning of the day, of the workout, to the cup of coffee in the cafe, to the speaker series or the beer with colleagues after work, that's really where the 21st century office buildings are going to be, as well as multifamily and other type of use above them. But that's really what's required to attract and retain talent. And without that in the block of space, we definitely don't. If we had just the block of space, I don't think Kronos gives us a second look if a building was in its condition that it was 3 years ago. So I'm putting words in your mouth there, but
I think that's probably right. It's hard to go back and sort of imagine that, but I think that's probably true. Even for us, and I think for a lot of companies, a workspace goes beyond, and a work environment goes beyond the four walls where people work, or their immediate office or their immediate cube, and it does encompass the amenities, right? And so it's part of being a healthy employee is having a healthy lifestyle, and part of having a healthy lifestyle is being able to exercise or know that your kids are being cared for, or having a place to eat. I'm picking on sort of three amenities that are in that building, and it doesn't have to be exactly those three, but it is having an environment that is inviting to employees for their whole life. And that's larger than the space that we're just renting, and I think that's why we're in this together. And it's why we're all in this together, because the better job we collectively do that, the happier Kronos employees will be, and the greater the spillover effect will be of sort of other companies and other entities wanting to join.
Yeah, and I think, and just to wrap up, I think what was very interesting to me is that one of those amenities is the city of Lowell, is the downtown, and what the city of Lowell represents, and it's similar to the university. So there is this connection that continues to grow in sort of concentric circles, if you will, that,
Right.
The university with access to labor and educated individuals, jobs coming here,
Right.
and a downtown, and what the city has to offer. So congratulations. We appreciate you coming. We thank you for coming to Lowell, and what we will continue to do to work with you to make the city better, so you'll continue to attract good jobs, good businesses, and the same that goes with the university. So these campus these campus, I guess, amenities, if you will. It's important to university, it's important to businesses, and
Yeah.
it's important to the city. So
Right.
I thought it was pretty interesting.
Right, and there's an accretive effect to getting all of them together, right? And I think, I didn't mention earlier, I'd probably be remiss in, if I didn't mention the fact that we have had a long-standing positive relationship with UMass Lowell, right? We've had interns and co-ops and employees for years, and we're excited to make that relationship even deeper now that we're just that much closer. And they've been a big supporter of ours. I know that various groups within UMass Lowell, since this deal was announced, have come through to sort of meet with various parties at Kronos and talk about how we can do even more together. And that's an exciting part of this for us, right? Because we can't grow unless we have smart, talented, motivated employees, and that's a great source of all of those to us. And so we're gonna find a way to get, frankly, more than our fair share of those students and grads.
I hate to end this meeting, but we're going to have to, but can we ask that we can call you back, both of you back, to give us another report or more time to ask questions? The thing is, every member of the city council wants to ensure that our constituents have a good quality of life and opportunity. You've shown us a roadmap of doing that. And so we're excited by the presentation you made tonight, but it shows what the potential is for the city of Lowell.
Yeah, happy to come back anytime.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you.
There's one other comment before we break.
Yes.
At my previous position, we were the largest, I was in a position of the portfolio that we were the largest taxpayer in Boston, Burlington, and Wellesley at the time. And we dealt with a lot of public figures in all of those cities. And I would say by far, Lowell has been the most pro-business, the most open-minded, and the most open-doored that we've dealt with in any of those locations. And hopefully they're not watching.
No, thank you for that. That's what we want to do.
It's been phenomenal.
That's what we need to do.
Thank you for all your
Thank
help,
you very
everybody's
much.
help.
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you.